Hey everybody, and welcome back to A Reasonable Price Prediction, the series where we try to figure out where your favorite altcoins could be headed. Now today we're going to be looking at XRP, and more specifically where XRP went after its halving. During the year it got sued by the SEC, and then during the halving in a cycle where there was no fears of regulation at all, and XRP performed perhaps how it usually might. You could argue if there was no black swan event to cause a big sell-off, and poor XRP experienced two black swan events during 2020, you could argue, with the SEC suing them in December of that year, and also of course COVID that we saw much earlier on during March. So a very rough year for XRP, you could argue. Now, first of all, pointing out similarities before we get into the unusual price action during the SEC suing year. I will just be calling it sort of the SEC year from now on, or something to that extent. We see that if we zoom in on XRP, we can see this is where its cycle starts, and again, sued by the SEC in December. We can see that before it's sued, we can see it does return to lows below where it was after the halving date. So we see there was a sell-off before, we have a rally up, and we do actually put in lower lows after the halving. So we passed the halving and there's a bit of a sell-off over a few weeks, but nothing too drastic. And then we continue to rally up, and then we do again return to these lows. And again, we actually return to the very same low. You can see this is basically the same price, and that is at 16 cents. So again, we cross the halving at about 20 cents. We go to a low of 15, 16 cents, and then we eventually do come back down to that low about 6-7 months later of again 16 cents. And after that, then we rally up. However, of course, it was a much weaker rally from XRP in 2021. If we go over back to 2016 and take a look at what XRP did after the halving, we can see that XRP crosses the halving at a price of 0.067 cents US dollar. It goes down to a low very soon afterwards of 0.05 and then returns to this low about 4 months later. So there's an actual pattern here where XRP crosses the halving and sees an immediate pullback, and we put in a low, and then a few months later we then return to that low before we have our big bull run. So again, that's one of the key similarities out of the way. Now, starting on the unusual moves, we can see that during XRP's normal cycle, I will call it, even though it's not really normal, we see that XRP has a strong move up and then a strong move down, and then into its bull run. And if we take a look at what happened during the second halving, or the 2020 halving, we can see XRP has a small move down, a strong move up like we talk about, and then a bit of a pullback down, but ultimately stays above its bull market support band, continues to bounce off its bull market support band, and then has a very strong pull down on the news of the SEC suing, and then I think it goes on to dampen the price of XRP for the remainder of that cycle. We can see that XRP put in a low of 16 cents again, where it revisited this low. If we take XRP where it went from its halving date, we can see it did a 900% move, roughly a 9x from its high, which is not terrible, but not amazing either. And considering that it's such a high market altcoin, you could argue that, well, because it's such a high market altcoin, you can't expect it to perform so well because its market cap is so big, and therefore its liquidity is so large, it's much harder to move the coin. Ethereum outperformed it, and Ethereum is a leg up from XRP. It's got a much bigger market cap. It did during this time, it did for a long time before it. Basically, ever since Ethereum launched and had its first bull cycle, it overtook XRP. And XRP was a big coin back in 2017. It didn't stop it having a huge, explosive rally like we saw. I mean, if we take where XRP went from its halving date here and up to its high, it did a 55,500% move. You could have 555 times your money holding XRP during this bull run, which is crazy. And again, these were different times. Again, there was much lower liquidity, a lot less people in crypto, but it still goes to show that XRP had the ability to move up strongly during a bull run year. And even, we can't really draw too much data from this, but when XRP launched, it launched at the end of a crypto bull run. It was August of 2013. And what did XRP do? It went from a low of 0.03 cents to a high of 0.07 cents, or sorry, 27 cents, which equates to a 23x. So for just a couple of months in the bull run, XRP went up 23x. And then naturally, over a bear run, like we always see, XRP corrects, puts in these lows, has a mini resurgence again, like we talk about. Every 4 years there's a mini bull run. Every 4 years there's a big bull run, and they're roughly 2 years between each other. We see this again at 2015. XRP has a little bull move in 2014, towards the end of 2015. Retraces again, has another long bear market into the halving year, and then a strong move up into 2017 where it's our actual bull year. So to me, saying that XRP only did a 9x, and it only did that because it's a much bigger market cap altcoin, doesn't really sound right to me. As we've seen before, while it was a big market cap altcoin, do very well. And we also saw during the same time other big market cap altcoins doing better than XRP. However, I think this cycle that XRP is about to enter into over here will be much more different compared to what we've seen before. I think now that XRP is considered not a security, it's cleared, basically, in America, and more or less untouchable by the authorities, or at least the SEC, it now has a sort of shield. And however true that is, or how much scrutiny it may face down the road, a lot of people will just default to the fact that the SEC lost to XRP, and it's not a security. And I think this will be explosive for XRP. And I think that while it had a very dampened 2021 bull run, naturally because of all the bad press and fear surrounding it, I think 2025 could actually be a very strong year for XRP because it no longer has these overheads that are being dangled over this fear of, it could be shut down, it could be fined by the SEC and XRP could be taken off the market, or it could be illegal to hold this, that, or the other. That's no longer the case. So I think the chances of us seeing a very strong XRP move is quite bullish. And like in my last video, we spoke about how XRP had a strong move, and then it had a weak move, and now potentially it's going to have a weaker move. We can see that it's starting to operate within a range. While that is definitely a valid theory, and I will just say quickly, that's all these are. They are theories. There's no way I know for sure where XRP is going. I think also the idea that XRP could do extremely well now that it doesn't have this looming fear that sat on it for just under 4 years, basically, to hold it back. There's nothing to keep XRP at these lows, and I think we will possibly see another move up like this, where we take a strong move to the upside, and then we set a low that we then revisit later on. And like XRP even did this last cycle, we saw had a strong move up, and we came down to a low here, where we sort of consolidated for a few weeks, and then we came back to that. If we go back to the 2017 move, we had a strong move up, and then we had a few months of consolidation. Where did we end up coming back to? This point here, this low here, this exact point. So this is a trend that XRP does often follow, or it has done at least twice, where it's a strong move up, a consolidation, another strong move up, and then over the bear market year, returning to that midpoint. We could potentially see a move like this. And if we take into account how long it takes for XRP to make these moves after the halving, for 2016 it was 36 weeks, so about 2/3 of a year. If we take it from the SEC suing year and say we take this guy as our move, it was about 27 weeks, so about 200 days, a much shorter time frame, but still multiple months away, half a year away basically. You can take that as one of multiple ways. You can just say that the distance doesn't really matter. It's sometime between 35 and 30 weeks, give or take. If you want to take an average, you can say that they are diminishing in terms of how long it takes for XRP to pump. In terms of where I think the US economy is in terms of basis points and inflation, I think it could possibly be Q4 of this year. I don't think it'll be any earlier. If we start reducing basis points and start having rate cuts, that will probably cause the crypto space to have a bit of a sell-off. Like we see oftentimes when the Fed naturally starts to cut rates, it indicates that something in the market is broken and they need to cut, so people sell their assets because they don't know whether it's their bank or it's their stock that's the one in trouble. And again, we had that with COVID. The Fed cut rates like crazy, and at the same time the price tanked. It was similar time frames during here, like 2015. Again, it was raising rates, price slowly trended down. We had a bit of a time frame where nothing happened and the space rallied, and then we had cutting rates, and then the space trended downwards, and then nothing happened and the space rallied. We saw that again in 2021, similar thing, like nothing happening, rates being cut, nothing happening, the current trend that we've been on, rates being raised, We've had a pause for the last how many months? 4, 5, and in that time we've seen Bitcoin and other altcoins perform extraordinarily well, and then there's the potential for a cut in either March or May. And when that happens, we will most likely see the same thing play out, where we have a pull down. And then when nothing is happening, when rates are low and rates aren't being raised and they're not being reduced, we'll most likely see the crypto space take off. I am still a little on the fence as to whether XRP will play out like Litecoin has and Monero. Again, it's a coin from a similar time frame that's performed similarly to those other coins over the years. And again, like these last few cycles, Litecoin, Monero and XRP have played out more or less the same. During 2018, more or less, they had their high here, and then they put in a lower high during the 2021 Bullrun. Now XRP could be a different case on why it put in a lower low, and now it doesn't have that excuse. It'll be interesting to see whether it does. Ultimately, I do think XRP will go up this next Bullrun, like it always has. How much? Impossible to say. Taking a look at the Bitcoin pair, we'll keep this one quick. I did just want to point out how long it took XRP to have its rally on the Bitcoin pair after the halving, and no joke, last two cycles it's been identical. It's been exactly 34 weeks, so again about 2/3 of a year, give or take. And again, we saw that in 2016, we saw that in 2020 for XRP to see a recovery, or at least when it put in its low for that cycle. And again, another interesting thing about XRP is over the years it has slowly reduced its range that it's operated in on its Bitcoin pair, and we saw this on Litecoin and Monero as well. And again, you can use the Black Swan event of the SEC suing XRP. It will just have to see how it plays this bull run. If it breaks the pattern and it puts in a high on its Bitcoin pair that we saw previously from times like 2018, you could argue that this theory is dead and that XRP will continue to climb in value against Bitcoin. And if it most likely does that, we will see a similar price move on its US dollar pair. It will have an explosive move up that breaks its all-time high. If it does not, however, it's more or less condemned to operate within this range for possibly the rest of its existence, as it has done so for close to 7 years now, give or take. And if we even zoom in kind of where we have been operating in for the last 2 years, the majority of the time has been in this 2,000 Satoshi range to this 1,500 Satoshi range. And sure, we've put in lows and highs, but you can also draw another line to show sort of the extreme, and there's probably some standard deviation formula or something similar that shows that most of the time XRP is spent within this range, and then when it has, it's most likely the chance of it breaking out of this range is even lower, you know, like a 0.96 or whatever. I can't remember the exact numbers anymore, but if you're aware of what I'm saying, it would sort of be, this would be your one standard deviation, this would be your two standard deviations. That is total codswallop though, I haven't checked that, so it could be totally wrong, but that's what instantly sticks out to me. Again, if we see it break out of this during the bull run, that would be a good sign. If, however, it returns to some sort of movement like this without putting in an all-time high during the next bear run, I would be very worried in terms of XRP's price movement. However, ultimately, I think it would be a good goal, as it would show that the cryptocurrency is stabilizing price-wise in the crypto space, which I think is probably ultimately its goal, realistically. We'll just have to wait and see. We can see again where, obviously, the SEC sued XRP and it had a terrible time on its BTC pair and didn't really recover. It came back up to these highs back when the rest of the crypto space had its main bull rally, you could argue, or its second one, whatever. But then ever since then hasn't done anything particularly amazing. We have recently dropped down below here and we are testing this low. I'm not sure if we'll break below. I have a feeling we won't, but we could. I think probably on Bitcoin pairs, altcoins will probably see a little bit of a rally up into the halving, and then probably after a month or two we'll see a big strong move from altcoins for it then to be pulled back quite strongly in the favor of Bitcoin, just from what we've seen in prior cycles. And if we take a look at that, last cycle wasn't a great example for XRP because again the SEC dampened a lot of that move, but what we saw from it before the suing announcement was that basically XRP was rocketing up here and suddenly this news caused it to crash. If we take a look at the cycle before, we can see halving, bit of a sell-off downwards, again selling down into the halving a couple of weeks before, we see a bit of a pickup, only for a month or two afterwards for it to trend back down, and then we have a strong move to the upside followed by a strong pullback, and you can see XRP has this huge sell-off. I don't even know what that is, but huge. But I have gone on for way too long. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Comment down below whether you think XRP will rally strongly this next cycle, or if it will continue in its ways and stay within a sort of very basic range on its Bitcoin pair. Again, I will remind you during this point here to this point here, XRP experienced the most amazing bull run cryptocurrency has ever seen, and also one of the harshest bear runs it's ever seen. And the price volatility doesn't really say that, to be honest with you. I mean, we can zoom in and suddenly it becomes a lot more zigzaggy, but that's just because it's up in our face and we're super hyper focused on this time frame, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But ultimately, to me, if I showed you, or if I told you this was the most volatile time in crypto history, or this was when the most money was ever put into the crypto space and thousands, millions of people came flooding in, pouring their money into it, you would probably be shocked. I don't know, maybe you wouldn't. Comment down below if you would. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care and peace.